It's been more than 4 years since a magnitude 7.0 earthquake devastated Haiti, and outrage there is growing over the largely failed reconstruction effort, despite the hundreds of millions of dollars in aid that has been collected and spent by the IHRC, the Interim Haiti Recovery Commission. Now, two prominent lawyers have petitioned a Haitian court demanding an audit of the commission and its manager, former President Bill Clinton. Wall Street Journal columnist Mary Anastasia O'Grady has been following this story and has the details. So, why are Haitians so unhappy?
Well, the earthquake was in January 2010, so we're 4 years into this process. They were promised a lot, and they also know that a heck of a lot of money was spent.
How much? What are we talking about?
Well, you know, the Inter-American Development Bank claims that over 4 years, a total of $3 billion was dispersed to be managed by the Interim Haitian Recovery Commission.
And what do they have to show for it?
Almost nothing.
Really?
It's really a disaster. There were two components.
Tragedy.
There are two components that were important. One was they were supposed to build housing, okay, and that was primarily handled by USAID. USAID, after several years of hiring consultants and contractors, reported that they had to increase their budget by 65% and decrease the number of houses that they promised by 85%. That's how far off they were in their studies. They also built, supposedly, an industrial park in the north of the country, a very important industrial park, because part of what's supposed to be going on here is that Haiti would get up on its own 2 feet.
Yeah, not just be a recipient of aid. Yeah, exactly.
And so what do you need when you say, I'm going to open an industrial park? You need roads. You need buildings.
You need water. You need electricity.
You need a port. This is all in chaos right now. They do have a couple of buildings. Reportedly, they're very shoddy construction. The roads are not there. The port, which they spent several years thinking about, now has been completely canceled. They can't do a port there, they found out.
All right. Now, what role has the State Department, and obviously run at the time for 4 years by Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, played in this? The
State Department was the major
government
agency in charge of overseeing all of this. And in 2009, remember that Bill Clinton was named the UN Special Envoy to Haiti.
Sure.
And from that time on, when you called the State Department and you had interests in either investment or some kind of business, you were referred to the Clinton Foundation. And subsequently, after the earthquake, basically the State Department took over everything, and Bill Clinton was the go-to guy for all of the transactions.
And you reported a fascinating detail about Hillary Clinton's chief of staff at the State Department and former White House lawyer in the Clinton years, Cheryl Mills.
Yes, well, that's the talk of Haiti, because everybody knows that Cheryl Mills went to Haiti more than 30 times in 4 years, which is a heck of a lot to go to one country when you're the chief of staff for the Secretary of State.
Go ahead, you finish.
Well, she was basically put in charge of the industrial park in the north of the country, which is a colossal failure.
What response did you get from the Clinton Foundation and Bill Clinton when you called?
Well, they did not comment. They did not come back. But since then, we've gotten a lot of support for the Clintons. All of the letters are written in a very similar way, saying that the Clintons are really not to blame here, that there were lots of problems, but Bill Clinton, what did he have to do with it? And that I find very strange, because he was the point person in Haiti for the last 4 years.
All right, this is fascinating stuff, Dan. Big picture quickly. How much will this affect Hillary Clinton's campaign if she runs?
It's a perfect example of the sorts of problems Hillary will have, because the Clintons together are just questions of conflicts of interest get raised constantly. That does not mean they are doing things illegal or wrong, but they are political problems. And I think it's going to be endless landmines for Hillary the whole time she's trying to run for president with her husband.
Their governing record ought to be fair game.